disconnected from higher wisdom.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to 211Samadhi. Now, time for us to go ahead with something about the awakened consciousness. First of all, I will do it. I will do the prayer on behalf of us. Let's sit upright, place our palms together, and concentrate on the prayer below. We take refuge with our calm mental being. We take refuge with Shakyamuni Buddha. We take refuge with all the triple jewel of the 10 directions and the 3 periods of time. Verse for opening future. This past profound and wonderful Dharma in hundreds of millions of years is difficult to encounter. When I see and hear it, receive and behold it, and without to fathom the exact true meaning, and without to practice the exact true way, and without to attain the exact true state. Without that we can spontaneously express the Buddha's understanding, Buddha's view, Buddha's wisdom, Buddha's merit and virtue, Buddha's capability and Buddha's state through our actions, speech, and thoughts. We also vow that all the living beings can enter into the Buddha's understanding, Buddha's view, Buddha's wisdom, Buddha's merit and virtue, Buddha's capability and Buddha's state owing to us. So that's the prayer. And yesterday we learned many new words in a sentence. Now time for us to do the review through the video, the sentence 1. Okay, let's focus on it.
Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding attained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding attained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom.
Yeah, Daisy, would you like to follow it and then try to recite it?
Yes. Good morning. Okay.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly.
Okay. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom.
Yeah, would you like to recite it?
Yeah. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom.
Perfect. Yes, thank you so much. Alice, your time, please.
Okay, yeah. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom.
Yeah, recite it, please.
Okay. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Alice. All right, it's your time. It's your floor, Joy. Good morning.
Good morning. Let me read it and recite it. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom. Now, let me recite it. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom.
Exactly. Yes, thank you so much. Dangerous. Yes, perfect. All right, it's your time, Elva.
Yeah, thank you. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding attained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from high wisdom.
Wow.
Okay, let me recite it.
Do it, please.
Okay, thank you. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding attained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from high wisdom.
Yes, perfect. Okay, and any knowledge or what? Followed by any knowledge or what? So, Elva, any just fill the blank. Any knowledge or obtained by the limited self. So any knowledge or what?
Any knowledge，
or
应该是自我的那种新意识，是自我的那种新意识。
Yes, just I mean that just now I cancelled word. Yeah, would you like to fill it up? Fill the blank. Any knowledge or what obtained by limited self would be dangerous. So here, what? So which word I have cancelled?
Any knowledge or understanding. 它这个
Are you kidding me? Understanding is a word. So could you check it? And change
standing.
Yes, that's so. That's the issue. And understood is a form of is a verb form of understand. Also, understanding is a verb form of understand. So you cannot say understanding because you just do it yourself. Yeah. So I hope you can understand it. Yeah, understand. Yeah, the original verb is understand, and the verb forms. Yeah, you can find understanding is a verb, is a form of this verb, and also understood is past participle is another verb, a verb form. So you cannot mix them together. Okay. There is no word of understood, so that's the issue.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for your recitation.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
Thank
did
you
it
for your
well.
correcting.
Correcting? Okay. Yeah, actually, I'm the peer of you. Yeah, we are mates. So we learn each other. Okay. So here, understanding, knowledge or understanding. Here, understanding works as a noun. It's something like what you know. Okay. So I will do it. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom. So here, higher wisdom is something like the book of souls and also the true wisdom. So I will recite it. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding obtained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom. So that's it. Now let's go ahead with them.
没听到方老师。
Yeah, Alice, are you speaking now?
No, I'm here. Yeah, what's the problem?
What's the problem, Joy? Just now you mentioned Alice. What do you mean, Joy?
Yeah. Joy, I have recited this paragraph,
Oh,
this sentence.
Already. Yeah, already.
Thank you,
Oh,
thank you, thank you very
Oh,
much.
you mean that way? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your reminder. Yeah, Alice did it. Yeah, in the second order. In the second order. Yeah, after Daisy, Alice did it. Yeah, thank you so much. Now let's go ahead.
Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding attained by the limited self would be dangerous, disconnected from higher wisdom. Without this awakened consciousness, any knowledge or understanding attained by the limited self would be dangerous.
I think that dangerous. Yeah, it's so authentic. Yeah, in the authentic way. Native speaker, dangerous. Dangerous. Okay, let's go ahead.
Disconnected from higher wisdom. The eye of Horus had to be open. The eye of Horus had to be open. The eye of Horus had to be open.
Yeah, this sentence is very simple, right? Had to be open. Had to. We need to pay attention to it. Have to. Have to. It means yeah, should, must, but yeah, it's not positive. It's passive. Passive one. Have to. Okay. So here, have you seen the picture in the video? Yeah, the eye of Horus in that way. Yeah, I also checked it in with the Google engine. By the Google engine, also found this picture, and it means yeah, awakened consciousness, and it also means it's something about the wisdom, the true wisdom. So this the eye, yeah. With the Buddha eye, I can say blah blah. Yeah, Buddha eye, something like the Buddha eye. Okay, so the eye of Horus means the awakened consciousness has to be open. So here, open is an adjective, right? Be open. It means yeah, always the wisdom is always be there. The wisdom should always work. So that's it. Yeah, be open. Here, open is an adjective. Now this is the simple sentence. Let's go ahead with another one, and then we can link them together to read and recite.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, here, yeah, last time, maybe several times, yeah, 7 days before, Alice asked Eden or Eden. Yeah, according to the video, is Eden. Okay, and esoteric, what does it mean? Esoteric, it means, yeah, like to be understood or enjoyed by only a few people. Yeah, with a spatial knowledge or interest. Yeah, just, yeah, not a majority people know it, but some people, yeah, very limited people knows it. Very limited people know it. So esoteric, it means hard to understand. Okay, esoteric meaning, it means yeah, hard to understand. The meaning is hard to understand. Yeah, we found here. Okay, I think we come esoteric once again. Esoteric. So Daisy, would you like to analyze the sentence? Yeah, this is a sentence. I think it's it's not a simple sentence.
Yeah, okay, let me try. Thank you. The main clause of this sentence is the esoteric meaning is similar to the more familiar story, to the story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Esoteric meaning.
Is similar
To the more story, blah blah. Okay,
Yeah.
I agree with you. So how about the other parts of it?
that we find here is a relative clause to further explain the esoteric meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we find here.
So can we cancel that here? I'm sorry, can we cancel that? The word that?
Let me check. Yeah, I think this that can be omitted.
Can be. Okay, how about the other parts?
It's similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this of the fall in the Garden of Eden is a preposition phrase to further explain the story.
Yeah. Actually, there are two groups of phrase, right?
Yeah, of the fall is
Mm.
I think it's the name of the story, and then
Yeah.
in the Garden of Eden is a preposition phrase. It works as the adverbial part. It means the place where this story happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I will ask you some detailed question. It's similar to the more familiar story. So why did here more familiar? What does it mean? And to use word to compare words.
It's similar to the story of if we cancel the more familiar. So it's similar to the story of something. Okay, the more.
Yeah. So why did it here use the more familiar? The more familiar.
Sorry for this point. I have no idea because I cannot find another word who can match the more. Can.
Yes, that's a issue. Yeah. Actually, you did it so well. Thank you so much. Yeah, especially the main clause, very clear. Yeah, you clarified the whole structure clearly. Yeah, thank you so much, Daisy. So, how about your opinion? Alice? So, why here use the more familiar?
More familiar and similar to the more familiar story. Maybe, yeah, I think that tell me that this story of the fall in the Garden of Eden, we know that in the Western society, most of the people know the story of the fall in the Garden of Eden, but yeah, but they are they're less familiar with story of the Book of Thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
the story about the the fall in the Garden of Eden, and compare this to the story of the source book, right? Are you sure with that?
And precisely we can say that compare with compare with the meaning of the book of Souls. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. You should be confident. Yeah. That's the issue. That's the issue. Yeah. Actually, it is. Yeah. And we can see that in the book of Souls in this slide, is about, the book of Souls, and something within the book of Souls is really hard to understand. Also, the Osiris is something like that. And this some story in the book of Souls. Yes, some knowledge within this book, but it is really hard for us, for the normal people, for the mass, mass living beings, for the mass to comprehend it. But this one, the garden, the fall in the Garden of Eden is very popular within the Western culture. Even everybody, Western people knows it. Even every person in Western country knows it. So that's why there is a comparison here. Yeah, you are amazing, Alice. Yeah, you know it. We need to go back to this slide. Yeah, the Book of Souls. Thank you so much. And next paragraph also says the Book of Souls parallels the book of knowledge of good and evil. Yeah, and blah blah. So yeah. So I ask you the question. Yeah, maybe in advance. Yeah, it's my fault, maybe somehow. So yeah, the comparison is here, parallels to the book. Blah blah. Here it is. So that's it. Yeah, thank you so much. Time for us to practice, okay? Before practicing, before shadowing, I think we can read this word again. Just at your end, okay? I will read here. Just follow me at your end. Esoteric. Here, all pronounced like esoteric. Okay, so that's esoteric meaning. Now, time for us to listen to the video and then follow it.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, here there is phenomena to link of Eden. So here of is not of. Check it out. So we can see it. So here V. Use V to link another word, Eden, of Eden. Listen to it again. Maybe you can hear it clearly at your end.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, that's it. The esoteric, but the speaker, the presenter here, the voice, the male voice said esoteric, but according to the dictionary, we need to pronounce like esoteric. So we know it, we know the difference. Okay.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, Daisy, would you like to shadow it?
Yes, okay. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, Eden. Once again.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fool in the Garden of Eden. Garden
Check
of
it
Eden.
again. Check it together. I'm not sure Eden or Eden.
Eden.
Yeah, Eden, Garden, Eden. Okay, Eden. Yeah, right. So, yeah, it's your time, Alice. I will play it for you. Hi. Get a mic already?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Indeed.
The book, the esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Okay. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fool in the Garden of Eden. Yeah, in the Garden of Eden.
Of Eden. Yes, you did so well. Once again.
Okay. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fool in the Garden of Eden.
Genius. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. It's your time, Joy. I'll play it for you, okay? Hi, Joy.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Please.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, once again. Esoteric meaning.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Perfect. Yeah, it's your time. Thank you so much, Joy. It's your time. Elva. Hi, Elva.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Play
The esoteric,
The esoteric meaning that we
esoteric. Now, yeah, here we need to in this way. Esoteric meaning. I think the intonation is quite different from us, and his is so vivid, yeah, not so flat. Now let's listen to it again.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yes, Elva, please.
Yeah, thank you. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Yes, once again.
Okay. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Genius. Yeah, okay. Let's listen to it again.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden. Okay. The esoteric meaning that we found here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden. Yeah, Joy, please.
这个 familiar 我怎么听着它读成什么了？我听着不像这个 familiar 这个音呢发的。
Okay, take it again. Okay, maybe the intonation issue. Okay, let's double check.
The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the
Familiar story. So yeah, familiar.
Esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story
familiar. Yeah, we will check it out. Yeah, something about the about the constant. Familiar.
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 Familiar. Because because this syllable, this phonetic symbol, this phonetic symbol， 这一块还是我不会，我可能表达的大家听不懂。这个 phonetic symbols 这个音标的原因，这个音标是中国比较难以发的一个音，然后大家会发成 familiar， 就是像米一样的米粒的那个米的音，它其实实际上是嘴巴是半张开的状态发米的音，它不能嘴巴瘪平的状态发米的音。好，我们发这个就是像发 a 的那个音一样的，就是 egg 那种音，就是把手指可以中指啊、食指、大拇指第二个指头放在那个上下牙齿之间，然后就要开这么多的口再发这个音，再发这个就像大写字母的 I 的这个音一样 familiar 是这个原因才导致您听出来的不是 familiar， 是 familiar 是这个原因。
Familiar.
你看那个美式就是这个 familiar
Familiar.
就是很随意，他嘴巴不能闭起来就是变成了另外一个音。同时我也知道大家有这个读 women 这个问题，大家都会读成women，也是这个问题。
Women. Women.
听到没？就是这个是 Northern American English 的问题，就是这个美式英语它会读成women， 大家不会读成 women， 但英式的话就更偏米的那个音量
Women.
但是它是有很细微的区别，所以它的长元音我在这里在哪里写呢？在这里写一写，它的这个几个短元音当中是有很细微的区别，这个元音跟这个元音还有跟这个元音，它三个之间这个太细了啊，这有2点啊，这三个之间有很细微的区别，我们必须要知道，这个是一，这个是这个是一，就是1、3是口型不变，3要在1的基础上拖，2是口型都变了，这嘴巴要没有那么紧张，松弛半张开。women 就不是大家读的 women 的话就读成1，要么读成3，拖长一点就读成3，没拖就读成 women 就是这个3个音的原因。这里面 familiar 也是同样这个问题，你的 familiar 和 familiar 就是美式北美那边，因为这个袋子是加拿大出版的，它是北美英语的口音，刚才的 familiar 我们就听这个北美的，就听一下
Familiar.
Familiar.
这个就是英式的稍微偏向美的音，更偏向 A 的音。So that's it. Maybe that's the issue. I think. Let's double check, okay?
The fall in the Garden of Eden. The book of the esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden. The book
Yeah, at my end, I think this is the issue. 就是这个音标的问题。phonetic symbol, familiar. So how do you think of it, Joy? 是不是这里的区别？
Yes.
OK，那我们现在知道了他们美式跟英式有一点点口型的区别，另外我们自己也知道了这些区别就可以了，也没有必要去很强调。我有听到人家读，就读 women 呐，也是可以的，也没有说它跟 woman 区分开来就可以了，一个复数一个单数是吧？但是真实的它 American English 它懂 women 也非常明显，这也是一个很特质的美式英语、北美英语的一个特性的单词，也有一点代表性 women。So that's it. Now let's go back to shadow. All right, shadow has finished, right? Esoteric meaning. Oh, it's your time. Now let's go to recite it directly. Yeah, Daisy, you please.
Okay. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fool in the Garden of Eden.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, your time, Alice.
Okay. The esoteric meaning, the esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the fool in the Garden of Eden.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, exactly. The second word we need to pay attention to it. Esoteric. Yeah, your time, Joy, you please.
Yes. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the familiar story of the fall in the Garden of Eden.
Genius. Yes, your time, Elva.
Yeah. The esoteric meaning that we find here is similar to the more familiar story of the door of the fall in the garden of Eden.
Yes, perfect. 出乎我的意料. Yes, amazing you are. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, let's see